The K-Jazz Show, Sundays on Kofifi FM 97.2.
Welcome back. We are firmly in the second hour of the KJ Show with myself, Mwakuti. And this Sunday, we are joined by none other than the legendary Hilton Schilder, a man whose music is as layered and soulful as the city he hails from. Born into rhythm, raised by Goema, and armed with a playful spirit, including 16 instruments, Hilton is Cape Town's very own sonic alchemist. From punk to classical to rock to Cape jazz, his fingerprints are all over the South African musical landscape. And now he prepares his 46th release, a project, of course, and he's still full of life, fresh stories, sounds, and surprises. A true mind freedom fighter, if there is one. And of course, Kofifi FM, please welcome, or should I say, welcome terug, Maestro. An honor to have you here.
Thanks, brother. It's great to be here.
Let's start with the obvious, but extraordinary. 46 albums later. What's the energy like, when you went into this album? I mean, is it still butterflies and magic, or is it like maybe putting on an old, well-worn hat?
No, every experience in the studio is a beautiful experience for me. Every time I recorded something, something different. This latest project, it's with my band that's going to be with me at the Journey to Jazz, and the guys that I'm working with are quite young. They're late 20s, early 20s, late 20s, years old, And this latest offering is called Crooks and Nannies instead of Nooks and Crannies. What we did is we went into the studio, Aki's studio, Penny Lane in Cape Town, in Manburg, and we put down 15 tracks within like 2 days, because we had the stuff, it's all some new material. Well, from about a year ago, last year is when we did it, and came out quite nice. We decided to actually do 8 for the first release and then 7 for the next one, which is going to be called Nooks and Crannies. This one is Crooks and Nannies. It's a play. And I'm using a violin, which is really. It's always been I've always heard my music has been played by orchestra, but violin especially. And it's come to realization on this. I've got some wonderful musicians playing with me. Shaima Lekay on violin, and Clayton Pretorius on bass. And on drums, we got Kurt Powers. And I really... I'm in a very happy place with this group, because we also have Ruby Tutu, which is who's not going to be joining us. She sings, but she's on the album with us. And so, looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. I'm just thinking, with so many styles under your belt, jazz, punk, rock, Goema, how would this album, introduce itself if it had to walk into a party? Smooth jazz cat, wild-eyed Goema spirit, or philosophical uncle in the corner? What would we call it, in terms of the feeling of it?
A combination of all of that, man. But it's like my mind, I'm constantly exploring different things, In fact, some of the compositions there is from the 80s, the stuff we did with the genuines that wasn't recorded, and so I think it fits a lot of different genres, you know what I mean, instead of just like pinning it down to one story,
Coffee FM, we're spending time with Hilton Schilder for today's edition of Our Africa. And he joins us, as he's about to release his new project. And we have been listening to some of the music from this album, for this interview. And he is also one of the musicians who will be performing at this year's Journey to Jazz Festival in Prince Albert. Now, Hilton, Cape Jazz has your fingerprints all over it. Now, and looking back, did you ever imagine that this uniquely South African sound would echo so loudly across the world?
Well, it had its roots. People like Abdullah and the people that took it to the rest of the world. They kind of planted that seed, of the Goema, using the influences from the carnival, the street music, and we just kind of took it a little bit further, where we introduced it into mixing it with punk and rock, and then as it evolved, it became the stuff that we did with Robbie Jansen, and that became falling under the Cape Jazz label. It's just another title, It's one of the umbrellas that jazz has. Jazz is so all encompassing. It's got so many different facets, that to put it into one box, okay, it's Cape Jazz because we happen to be Cape Town musicians. We have a unique kind of sound here, and we have our own sound, because Cape Jazz is not only that you hear. People also dance to. They have a dance called the jazz here, the dancing, and they call that Cape Jazz as well. But yet that's American jazz. It's American kind of dancing music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they call that jazz. So it kind of falls. We are more the actual hands-on playing, the kind of music that is based from here, with its roots in tradition and the old rhythms. That's what I try to explore.
Yeah.
And I play these instruments to kind of call me back. You know what I mean? That's why I always start a concert with the mouthful, the klaru.
Yeah. And
it gives me a freedom to open up all the people's chakras, that they can welcome the music.
Wow.
It kind of opens them to another realm. Yeah.
Your musical curiosity started around the age of 3, and drumming away before you probably knew what time signatures were. Over the years, what's kept that childlike wonder, alive in you?
I think the fact that I didn't study music, not to say I didn't take it seriously. I didn't study it academically, I learned at my father's feet, really, and that from a very early age, I knew that I wanted to play music. That's what I was going to do, music and art. That was my thing. I really wanted to do that, and I kept it. I kept on holding on to it with a childlike, when a child holds on to something, and then I've retained my youthful wonder at music and all of that. I think I guess it's because I wasn't educated and didn't have that strict practicing like classical or kind of a jazz. It was pretty much loose. I had great professors though. I mean, my father, my uncles, wonderful people in my life. I had, I can't even mention all of them, but they were all my mentors, and people know where they are.
Yeah.
Mac McKenzie.
Wow, Mac McKenzie. Oh, wow. Incredible names. And speaking of your father, Tony Schilder, he was a jazz giant in his own right. So how has his legacy, woven its way maybe into your sound? And how does this new album now honor or maybe deviate from that lineage? Talk to us about that.
Well, look, when I was younger, I was always in the shadow of my father, in my father's shadow. It happens. It's the way you are. And then I decided I have to kind of break free from this, and instead of staying in the jazz, you know what I mean? I mean, that was wonderful for me growing up, but I've tried to find a different voice, And I think it's when I had the Klopse for the first time, I heard that mixed with jazz coming from our home. I heard this mix and I thought, wait, this is something to explore, Also, my uncles, they were formidable musicians. I mean, I didn't want to play piano, man. I didn't want to play piano. I was happy with the drums and I was small when I used to get behind the kit. I was 3 years old. I had a little drum and some brushes. I used to play that. And when the drummer used to leave his drum kit there, I would climb up behind the kit, and that was me from small already. My mom was pregnant with me when she was on a last, and she was at one of my dad's gigs. I was nearly born there. And I think I've been playing since inside. Since inside the womb. I know, because I've been hearing the music, and when I came out, I knew the music. I knew it was there. As a baby, they would rock me to sleep with Count Basie and the Oscar Peterson, Joe Beam. That's the kind of stuff I used to go and sleep on.
Yeah.
And constantly playing throughout. And my father, he was a fantastic person, and a very funny man, great cook, smart dresser, we had a great relationship with my dad growing up. Of course, when I became a teenager and becoming rebellious, things were happening. It was 1976. We didn't want to do, it was those days, so I kind of went off the rails a little bit, with the drugs and all that, But I stayed on the path. On the path. If I have to go back and change anything, I wouldn't, because it shaped me into what and it gave me my experiences, and finding out there's another side to life than just roses and lovely. Because I grew up in a very loving home. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a loving home with loving parents. And
Oh, a fantastic conversation this Sunday with
Lovely
Hilton
things
Schilder.
happening.
Yeah, lovely things happening. So much of his soul is poured into this conversation. As much as we're sharing his music, we're spending time with the jazz elder out from Cape Town. And you and I get together, of course. One more other reason why you and I are having this conversation this Sunday is because you'll be gracing the stage at the 2025 Journey to Jazz Festival. What can festival goers expect from your performance? I mean, are we going to be sitting back, reflecting, or get up and dance your Goema off kind of show?
I think it's a mixture of both because our music's like that, you know, you can sit down seriously and listen to it, and then suddenly you'll feel that rhythm and you wanna get moving. You can dance if you like, you know. But it's more, you know, it's a jazz setting, so I want to keep it, you know, for people that are listening. You know, I want it to be a nice sonic experience, you know, audio experience.
What are you looking forward to, you know, as somebody who will be traveling to Prince Albert? What are you looking for? What are you looking to experience? Maybe let me put it that way.
Well, I must say, so, well, you know, going to the Karoo, it's like, you know, it's like going back to our roots. You know, the Karoo is a special place. I've done certain projects in places that are like kind of out of the way, you know, and it's always wonderful to meet local people and hear the music from there. You know, that's my whole life. I've been interested in wherever I travel in the world. I try and meet up with the folk musicians, the people that are playing the music from their place. You know, that's what my music is. It's a mixture of music from different parts of the world with a Cape base. You know, so I'm really looking for. It's my first time in Prince Albert. So I'm really looking forward to it. You know.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it. We'll be going there every year since that festival started. And the festival, you know, brings together artists across generations. What piece of advice, you know, as we wrap up, would you give to the young muser who's listening to us right now and also wants to make it to project number 46 someday?
Well, first thing, practice. That's the main thing. Get to know your instrument really, really well and understand it properly. You can never understand an instrument properly because it will always find secrets. Like now, I'm still finding secrets out in the piano, you know. So the thing is, this practice till it becomes a part of you, and then start exploring. Take the blinkers off if you come out of a strict school, a music school, a jazz school, or that. Take the blinkers off and listen to other music. There's other music out there. It's not only jazz. It forms under jazz, you know, and it will help you grow as a person. The main thing is to find your own voice. That is the most important part of anything, is finding your own voice so that you don't sound like anybody else. That is it. And practice.
Oh, fantastic advice, of course. And this is the elder of jazz. And if you are a musician and you're going to be coming out and spending time with us at the Journey to Jazz Festival, do make sure that you take some time and speak to him. You know, I think there's so much knowledge and wisdom that he has. And of course, our time is rather short on the radio. However, you know, we look forward to, thank you so much for spending time with us, first and foremost, this Sunday. And of course, we look forward to seeing you at the Journey to Jazz Festival. And thank you once again.
I'm looking forward to the meet and greet as well.
Oh, that's going to be fantastic. That is going to be fantastic, of course. If you're still wondering, go to journeytojazz.co.za, and that's how you want to find out how you can join us in Prince Albert.
I'm doing a workshop on the 3rd.
Masterclasses. We look forward to that as well. That's another platform to share, and young people come around, and the people in the neighborhood come around and spend time with, you know, visiting musicians. There you go. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'll be there for all of it. I look forward to seeing you, sir. He is a jazz elder, a multi-instrumentalist, Hilton Schilder, and he was on the K-Jazz Show.